Hey guys, what's up? It's Alex here. Welcome back to another video. And in today's video, we're going to speak about some of the most recent Formula 1 news over the last couple of days, and focusing on the fact that Zandvoort could be on the Formula 1 calendar once again. There have been rumours over the last couple of months that have somewhat materialised at this stage, and apparently there is an agreement in place that Formula 1 will race at Zandvoort in the Netherlands in 2020, and it could replace one of the tracks on the current Formula 1 calendar. So that's some big news, and we're also going to get on some other news later on in this video, but nonetheless we'll focus on this one to start off with, because this is quite big. Because if they do decide to go to the Netherlands, that's a big thing for a certain driver on the grid right now, who of course is one of the most popular in the field. So Max Verstappen, he's only been in Formula 1 a couple of years, but he has been sort of sending shockwaves through the sport with his energy and aggressive driving style, and the fact that he is incredibly talented at such a young age definitely, I think, proves to the point that, you know, F1 drivers are getting quicker, even younger. So it's very exciting to see that the promoters of Formula 1 recognise that, and they want to get a Dutch Grand Prix on the calendar ASAP. Now, a lot of us thought that Zandvoort wasn't going to be the track to get on the F1 calendar because of, well, a couple of things. Well, certainly one of the main things is that it's not the greatest track in the world to overtake at, and I struggle a little bit to see how Formula 1 cars are going to race around here. It's, in a lot of ways, probably worse than Monaco for overtaking, because Monaco has slow speed corners where you might be able to slot up a car down the inside, but Zandvoort is a lot of sort of medium to high speed corners where there's only one racing line through there. So overtaking is going to be a premium if we do go to Zandvoort, but that doesn't take anything away from it as a track for me. It is an absolutely fantastic track to watch cars go round. Like, if you're watching just simply cars driving, you're getting to see them on the limit. So I was lucky enough to go to the DTM last year, saw some Formula 3 cars as well. There wasn't an incredible amount of overtaking, I'll have to say that. That is very, very true. That is definitely the case. But at the same time, it's very cool to see cars without the restrictions of millions of catch fences, which we'll probably get as Formula 1 goes there. But the fact that you can get so close to the action on a number of different points around the track is very exciting. But that could change. That could change. They might have to revamp the whole circuit to make sure it is FIA Grade 1 eligible, which would be a shame to ruin the fans' experience of the track for one event once a year if they were to do this. And I'd be a little bit gutted if they went around the whole track and did all these fences, but inevitably they're going to have to, otherwise it's just not going to be safe to see a Formula 1 event there. So if the Formula 1 promoters were desperate to get a Formula 1 track in the calendar from the Netherlands, what were the other options? Well, there weren't particularly many other ones. There was Assen, which runs the TT race in the MotoGP and does hold some car races and obviously a lot of motorcycle racing, but at the same time that's still not a particularly great track for cars. Now, I assume they're going to Zandvoort because it is a stunning location. I mean, if you've ever been to the track before, you'll see what I mean. It's just absolutely incredible, and it's just a great experience and vibe for the whole weekend. Any fans that are going to go to that are going to absolutely love it for a number of reasons. But at the same time, I would say that it's not going to be the greatest track in terms of overtaking, which you already mentioned, and viewing should be still decent, but I can imagine they're going to have to do all this fencing and stuff like that, which is going to somewhat ruin the view for the average spectator. So I think they were sort of backed into a corner somewhat. They wanted a Dutch Grand Prix. There weren't many options. I guess one of the options could have been to build a track, but at the same time, that's not very cost effective as of right now, especially in the modern world economy. I don't think building a Formula 1 track to be used a couple of times a year was going to be on the highest priority of list of things to do in the Netherlands. So I understand that probably wasn't really a feasible option. So for now, they're going to have to go with a track that isn't particularly suited to Formula 1. But it doesn't end here, this story, because if the Netherlands Grand Prix comes onto the calendar, or the Dutch GP, whatever we're going to call it, comes onto the calendar, it's going to replace a track that's currently on the calendar. And by the looks of it, that's going to be the Spanish Grand Prix. So that would be a massive shame, because let's be perfectly honest, the Spanish Grand Prix has held some alright races in the past. It's never been a thriller, in my opinion. It's never been one of those races where you get to and you're like, yep, I'm ready to see one of the best Grand Prix races of the season. It's always sort of mid-table in terms of that. But at the same time, it always provides something. It's never one of those races that is completely boring, in my memory at least. But I think it would be very tough to take for the Spanish fans who of course have had Alonso for many years, and then most recently Carlos Sainz and other great Spanish drivers throughout the years. It would be a big shame for them not to have a Spanish Grand Prix. But at the same time, maybe because of Fernando Alonso not being in Formula 1 anymore, the fact that Carlos Sainz isn't really in the top team right now might have all led to the decision for the Spanish Grand Prix to be removed, because they might think the fans aren't coming as much as they used to, so why should we go there? And we know if we go to the Netherlands, we're going to have an absolute sellout crowd. They're going to not struggle selling tickets to that Dutch Grand Prix. I'm just saying that. I mean, if you want to go to it, you're going to have to get your tickets in early, because, yeah, you know how dedicated the Dutch fans are and the fans of Max Verstappen. They travel around the world just for him. So what's going to happen once they get a Grand Prix in their own country? That's going to be really exciting to see. I really want to be a part of that. I'd love to go to it next year, even if it won't be most likely the most thrilling racing on the calendar. So what are your thoughts here? Would you be happy for the Dutch Grand Prix to come onto the calendar at Zandvoort to pretty much directly replace the Spanish Grand Prix, as talks have apparently said that is going to be the case, which obviously would be a massive shame for the Spanish population, which have had a Grand Prix for a number of years now, and they're going to seemingly not have any Formula 1 action. We might still see Formula 1 pre-season testing there, as it's always an amazing testing location, let's be perfectly honest. It typically does set up the teams very well for the European season. But Zandvoort, are we going there because it's a great track? Maybe. Are we going there because of the Dutch fans and the definite possibility of it being sold out? I'd say that's definitely an option as well. But then at the same time, we've had Grand Prix drivers come in like Kimi Raikkonen, Valtteri Bottas. They've been successful and winning races, but we've never gone to their home country. So what do you think? Is it essential that we go to a driver who's successful's home country to make sure that they feel at home maybe in Formula 1, that they have a home Grand Prix? Let me know your thoughts on that one in the comment section down below. Personally, I'm excited to see Formula 1 go to Zandvoort. I always am interested to see it go to new venues, but at the same time, I feel like the Grand Prix racing won't be as spectacular as it would have been at Spain, and that's just because Zandvoort is a very hard track to overtake in Formula 3 or DTM cars, so let alone in a Formula 1 car with much more power, much more aerodynamic grip and wider cars. It's going to be very tough for overtakes to happen at Zandvoort, so I just hope they don't alter the track significantly to suit around Formula 1, because then it would ruin the aesthetic for the other race series that go there throughout the year. So finally, we've got one more little bit of news I want to speak about in this video, and finally I think it's now confirmed so that we're not going to have a qualifying 4 in the 2020 format for qualifying, because let's be perfectly honest, it's a bit ridiculous. We don't need a 4th session in qualifying. Like right now, in my opinion, it already drags on a bit too long. I mean, I know why they do it like they do it right now, because it's to create a bit of tension and drama, but you sort of know who are going to be the people that drop out in Q1. It's going to be the Williams, it's going to be Stroll, it's going to probably either be one of the Haas drivers or a Toro Rosso driver this year. That's typically what it's like. And then in Q2, you've obviously got the battle not to be the worst of the midfield teams. So you've got the big 3 teams, so there's a guaranteed 6 pretty much going through. And then you've got 7 and 8 typically now taken by one team on the grid, whether that be McLaren or Renault, depending on what race it is. So you're basically battling for 2 spots in Q3. So I think Q4 would just be, it would be way too much. We just didn't need it. It's not going to provide any more excitement to Formula 1 if we have a 4th qualifying session. I think it's not perfect like it is right now. I still feel it goes on a little bit too long, but it's done in a way that means that we sort of strategically get out the slow cars and we get to a dramatic finale. But if we do a 4th qualifying session, it's just going to drag out that process even longer. I just don't think it's needed one bit. So I think it's good. I think it's very good they decided not to go ahead with this one, because there have been some silly rules and suggestions over the last couple of years for Formula 1, and some of them came through with the elimination qualifier a couple of years ago, which was an absolute mess, and they had to get rid of that ASAP. They got rid of that in the first couple of events of the season because we all know what a horrendous mistake that was, implementing that into Formula 1. So thankfully they've seen the common sense and not gone with this one going forward. But there we are. That's the two big bits of news, I should say, from Formula 1 this week. What are your thoughts? I guess the big one really is the Spanish Grand Prix possibly or will be removed and replaced by Zandvoort for 2020 in the Formula 1 season. Obviously a fantastic thing for the Netherlands to finally get a Grand Prix track back on the calendar, especially with one of their best ever drivers in the Netherlands, Max Verstappen, being on the Formula 1 grid. I think it's great for them that they've got that. But at the same time, I do feel sorry for the Spanish Grand Prix fans because Spain's definitely not the worst track on the Formula 1 calendar. Let's be real about that. It might not provide the best racing in the world, but you know, now and again it does provide some great battles, and it does provide some interesting shots from cars on the limit, let's say. But I think Zandvoort also will show us cars on the limit, which will be exciting. So let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. I really appreciate your time, guys. I apologise for not getting a video up over the last week or so. You know the story. I'm finished with university soon, so I'm looking forward to that and being able to make more videos. So have a great day. Spanax, I'm out of here. Goodbye.